today's episode, we're going to be talking about good and bad debt. There's a really key difference between the two of them, and it's important because debt in Australia is massive, and if you don't control it or use it for the right things, then it has the ability to run away from you and steal your financial future.
For sure.
So if, for the people listening to this that have debt or may consider getting more debt, then this is really going to help differentiate between the two of them and you leverage that to help them reach their financial goals. So just a stat to kick us off, buy now, pay later, which didn't exist all that short of a time ago, is now used by 1 in 3 Australians under the age of 40. Wow. So when we talk about good debt and bad debt, what are we really talking about?
In terms of good debt and bad debt, it's what you're using that debt for and what the purpose of that debt is what makes it good or bad. What value is that debt giving you? For example, a good debt could be an investment debt, like a mortgage, a house, property, things like that can grow in value, where you use somebody else's money essentially to then hopefully help you in your financial goals. There are bad debts out there that are a much higher interest rate than mortgages out there in Australia, and basically are only used for things that most Australians either can't afford, or it's like a psychological thing that they feel like they have more money than they should be spending.
Yeah, I get that. I think when I look at it, debt isn't the problem. I'm not anti-debt. Debt isn't the problem. It's what you spend it on, whether that makes it good or bad debt. Sure. And the revelation for me years ago when I had a credit card and car loan and all of this stuff racking up, I looked back and tried to find a point in time when things changed. And what I realized is that we're born with no debt. It doesn't get handed down like it used to, back in the Stone Ages. We're born with zero debt, but combining the fact of we want the latest and greatest things right now with the fact that we don't have the cash to support that, that's where the debt comes from.
Yep.
So in my mind, when I think about bad debt, it's spending money on things that I don't have the money for, the value of that is going to go to zero. Mm-hmm. So luxury handbags, TVs, all of that stuff, as soon as you buy it, those consumer goods, that's going to go to zero the value over time. The good debt is where you're utilizing debt to either invest into something or where you're going to get a return on that. So an example might be a home or an investment property, or another example might be where you're going into debt like HEX for your education so that you're going to get more income down the line. And I think that's the really key differentiator, is that having that line on, are you going to get a return on that? Because the debt is going to cost you more money. So what do you see when you're talking to clients?
Well, with my specific clients, like the bad debt in specific, like more so like the buy now, pay later loans, the credit cards, what it does to people is it gives them, the bank essentially gives them money where they can't afford to pay that back most of the time. Like I have a lot of customers who have $1,000 in their bank account, they get a $6,000 credit card and they automatically think, great, I got $7,000 to spend, which is never true in any story. Mathematically, obviously, and psychologically, I should say, is that because you have access to a certain amount of money all of a sudden, it's really hard to not get that dangling fruit from the tree, and it's constantly in your face. And it's really, hard for Australians to not overspend when they have access to that type of income.
And one example that I can think of is there's a very famous retailer, I won't mention their names, but they sell furniture, home goods, electronics, all of that sort of stuff. And they advertise all the time, 24 months, 48 months, interest-free. Mm-hmm. And what actually happens is when you go to purchase a lounge for $2,000, you magically get approved for $6,000 more. Now, the $2,000 is interest-free, but then the other $4,000 that you rack up on the way out accidentally, oh no, now I need a TV, that's not interest-free, that's at 48%.
Yep.
So there's all these hidden not traps, but there's all these hidden ways to extract more money out of you and to get you further and further into debt and keep relying on it.
And look, it's not most Australians' fault. It's basically how the education system works. And we're not educated, especially in my time, we're not educated in high school how credit cards work and how they can get you overall in the long haul. The mentor of that is when you have access to some sort of money, it takes some sort of discipline to be able to not act and spend all the money that you have in your bank account all the time. So a lot of Australians fall into that trap, but it's mostly just because of how they're not educated on how the topic and how credit cards work and how debt works, really.
Exactly.